If you have a question during the show, we want to hear it. Your input is a big part of what makes this show successful, and we thrive on your energy and insights. Whether it's a quick comment, a thoughtful question, or an opinion you just have to share, don't hesitate to drop it in the chat. Now, if you want to make absolutely sure your message stands out and gets featured on the show, there's an easy way to do that. Use the super chat feature. Just click the $ at the bottom of the chat box to send in your super chat. This guarantees that your message gets on the air, and it's also a fantastic way to support our channel. We rely on your support to keep bringing you the sports content you love, and we appreciate every bit of it. So go ahead, let us know what you're thinking. Hit that super chat button. Let's keep the show as interactive and exciting as possible. And if you prefer, you can also go to the gsmcsportsnetwork.net to tip, donate, and leave a comment or question there. We couldn't do what we do without your amazing support, and we're so thankful to have you as part of our community. We will start off with Arsenal's dominant win over PSG, or so-called dominant win. Is mixed reviews of the performance that Arsenal had in this game, but what is not, up for interpretation is that they got this game in pretty comfortable fashion. 2 first half goals. Kai Havertz in the 20th minute off of a wonderful ball played in from Leandro Trossard, who puts in a ball. Kai Havertz attacks it. Donnarumma's late getting to it, doesn't react fast enough, trying to come out, gets there late. Havertz heads it home, 1-0, and then the second goal in the 35th minute comes off a set piece. Arsenal bunching up as they do, not a corner kick but a free kick opportunity. Bukayo Saka with his left foot puts in a good ball, and in those kind of balls, what you want is, if it gets untouched, it to still, be in the goal area, because it makes it difficult for the keeper. It goes through a bunch of players. Donnarumma's not able to see it late. It sees it till very late and goes straight into the net. 2-0. And yeah, once Arsenal got that goal, it was going to be smooth sailing from there. If you look at the statistics, doesn't really show Arsenal in the most shining light. 6 shots for Arsenal to 10 for PSG. 5 shots on target though for Arsenal, with only 2 on target for PSG. 35% possession for Arsenal to 65% possession for PSG. And it's one of those games, it's one of those games that, there's going to be a divide amongst the performance from Arsenal. But what you can argue is, so far they've had a really good start to the season. Defeating the likes of Tottenham, Villa away, getting that point against City despite playing the second half with 10 men, defending a lead where they eventually gave up that late goal, but still getting a point in that situation, winning against PSG as well. It's been a good start, and in those games, Arsenal have been a little bit more pessimistic. Not pessimistic, that's the wrong word. Pragmatic, and a little bit more measured in the numbers that they put forward, and how they and how they're controlling the game. Not really, dictating game by their own tempo. Not really dominating possession. Not creating much clear-cut opportunities, but having a solid defensive base and building off that and taking advantage in individual moments to get the goals. I think they've done a really, really good job, Arsenal have, this season, of, getting individual moments of magic, like you saw from Trossard, that goal, the cross he put in, into the pass of Kai Havertz, to lead to the goal here. Another moment, the Calafiori goal against Manchester City. Relying on some individual moments of quality from the players, and also a good reliance on set pieces. They scored a set piece against Man City. They scored a set piece against Tottenham. They took advantage of a set piece here today. They've done a good job of relying on individual moments of quality and set pieces, because they have not really been they have not really dominated games, and it's the way Arteta has set them up. They're conceding a little bit more possession. They're being a little bit more defensive, and they're they're working from back to front, which there's nothing wrong with it. I'm sure Arteta's looking at, the start they had last season and how that ended up, biting them down the line. Maybe he's thinking, let's just get through the early stage of the season. We don't necessarily have to play good football. We just need to get the results, and we can build something through the longevity of the season. Build a team that's really difficult to play against, that will dictate tempo, that will create a numerous amount of opportunities. They want to build themselves up. We see the way Tottenham, who's been playing expansive, amazing football. Well, we saw that from last season as well from Tottenham, and what happened? Their performances started deteriorating. The energy levels it takes to play that constantly is pretty difficult. And I think Arsenal and Mikel Arteta, he's getting more and more, experience, and he's figuring out, tricks as a manager, way to adapt. And I think he entered this season, with the philosophy. We're kind of, in some of these earlier games, and some of these difficult games that we have, we'll allow the other team to be the protagonist, and we'll build off that. We'll take advantage of individual moments. We'll take advantage of set pieces, which we see, because these are set pieces they're training. They're training these set pieces of crowding the goalkeeper, of bunching players. These are set pieces that they're actually training. You can tell that they entered the season, with a plan that they're going to be reliant on these sort of moments to create the opportunities, because they're not going to open themselves up. They're not going to be extremely expansive and open themselves up and make it more difficult for them than it has to be. They're gonna, the number one priority is to get the result. And for me, I do have to say, I think there'll be a time that Arsenal, and also on top of that, losing Martin Odegaard, your most creative player, also puts you more in a position to play like this. And also losing Mikel Merino, which, by the way, speaking of Mikel Merino, who, had that shoulder injury, entering on his first day of training. He made his debut yesterday, or today technically, it is today. He made his debut today, and I'm surprised that, because, it was the shoulder injury. It was announced that he'll be out for a while, and it seemed like it came by a lot more faster than what I expected. We also hear that Mbappe, he might be involved tomorrow too. Some of these players are healing faster than I expected. And yeah, it's really good that he was able to make his debut. He's going to ease his way into it as well. But yeah, I do think eventually Arsenal will need to step it up in terms of the performances. Look, I don't know if this is able to be maintained through the duration of the season, the reliance on individual moments and set pieces. I don't think this is something you can, if you're, trying to win a title, I don't think this is a philosophy you can adapt for the rest of the season, because I don't think defensively Arsenal are strong enough to keep holding clean sheets the way that they be doing. I don't think, and they're very, very strong defensively, don't get me wrong, but you think of the teams that, play, not teams, but you think of the great teams that play that pragmatic style of play. They have a base solid of a legendary defense, a very, very, you look at Chelsea, Chelsea with Mourinho, you got John Terry, Azpilicueta, Cahill, you had that solidity in the back, one of the best back fours there is. You go back and you see the Mourinho Inter Milan teams that defended with the low block with Materazzi back there. Those are defenses that are, top class defenses, that a mentality can defend for 90 minutes and survive. I don't see that from Gabriel and William Saliba, and then this, sort of flexibility back line where you don't even play a real fullback. You're playing Julian Timber and Calafiori and Ben White as fullbacks. I don't see that. So I think Arsenal will have to step it up in terms of their performances. I think they'll need to create more opportunities going forward. But if this is, the plan of Mikel Arteta to see their way through the early set of fixtures, I have no problem with that. And if it's a plan, if it's a small part of a big plan, well, they go back to playing the football that we saw them play last season. Because you remember, Arsenal, they had games last season. They'd score five, six goals on almost a consistent basis, and it was almost ridiculous every time. Every new game I watched, they were scoring 5, 6 goals. They had 91 goals last season, which is an amazing output. Which Manchester City had 96 last season, which just tells you how great Manchester City is as well. But 91 goals is also a really, really good goal output. So far to start off the season, their attack does not look anywhere near as potent as it has. So that's something that they need to build their way up. But I wouldn't be, if I was an Arsenal fan, I wouldn't be too concerned. The most important thing right now, this early in the season, is to make sure you don't have that start that you had last season, which ended up costing you later on. And so far, so good for Arsenal. I do have to say, the result is always the most important thing, no matter what. And as far as PSG, and especially in a competition like the Champions League, at the end of the day, the result is all that matters. You can play defensive football throughout the duration of the Champions League and, and win it. There's been teams that, Jose Mourinho, he did that with Inter Milan. Thomas Tuchel, to an extent, he did that with Chelsea. Not the most outgoing, forward-thinking team that Chelsea was. Diego Simeone has reached multiple Champions League finals. Yes, he hasn't won one, but he's went on multiple Champions League final runs, adopting that philosophy. As far as PSG, they didn't create much, despite that they had a lot of the possession, especially in the second half. Nuno Mendes, he had that one opportunity, that one half chance where he struck the post from a long way out. But apart from that, PSG just lack that quality, lack that forward-thinking nature. I think Barcola had an opportunity early on. He got taken off the ball by Timber, and the attack looked so lifeless without Ousmane Dembele, who we know is out from the squad because of disciplinary issues. And, they suffered from it. They didn't have that real vertical threat. Barcolo, he got in a few times, didn't really have the quality to find the final ball or to make the final, to take on the final shot. And, yeah, it just seemed like Arsenal never really had to get out of the second gear. PSG, they had a lot of possession, but it was not in possession in dangerous areas. There was no real cutting edge about them whatsoever. They never seemed like they were going to get back into the game. Late on, they had a few opportunities. I believe João Neves had an opportunity on the set piece, which hit the bar, and then leaking in's rebound follow up from that. But apart from that, just poor from PSG. And I'm looking at that team, and I know that they've lost Mbappe, and they've had a good start to League One, which is very important for them, and they've done really well under Luis Enrique so far this season. But you're looking at the team, you have Lee Kang-in, who's a good player, but not the most quality there. You have, Desiree Doué, a young player, obviously with potential that we're trying to figure out more about. João Neves, who I thought played a decent game, but not much known about him. William Pacho, the center half, the Ecuadorian center half. This is a team that there's a lot of youth there, and there's a lot of growing pains there with this team, and they do lack that firepower, especially without Ousmane Dembele. But they do have a core with Barcola, Dembele, Zaire Emery, Vitinha, Nuno Mendes, and Donnarumma, and Hakimi. They have a core there on Fabian Ruiz, he came off the bench in this game. They have a core there to work with and to improve on as a team, as a unit. But they do lack that firepower, I do have to say. And maybe just going away to Emirates was just a little bit too much of a challenge. And, Luis Enrique, he was very honest. He was very, very honest after the game. He said PSG were no match for Arsenal for Arsenal who are superior. Uh, he said today we were far away from the standards you need in this kind of match. Arsenal were much better in terms of pressure, intensity. They won every duel. It's impossible to play for a positive result when you don't win any of your duels on the pitch. Their defenders anticipated our attackers, and our defenders didn't anticipate their attackers. Arsenal were superior. Yeah, and I do have to say I do agree with them there. You know.